Welcome back, darling. It's Naima Singletary here. It's Friday, just to mark myself, Friday, October 12th. And today is the final day. I've been here since Tuesday. I told you I would be here 4 consecutive days. And so I am a visionary businesswoman who is in service to those other visionary businesswomen and men who have always been different. You've always been different. You exist while you live here in the matrix. You're not of the matrix. You've always thought different, been different. You've always seen the world different. You've created extraordinary results in your business. You're easily the standout in all the communities that you're in. And you've quelched a lot of your power. That's part of the problem here, is that you've quelched quite a bit of your power because you've experienced the consequences of being unabashedly shining and the enormity of that and being punished for that. And as a result, you've muzzled your power and your access to the source that allows you to do almost unfathomable things. And so now your greater vision is on the line. The vision that you've had for years, perhaps even decades, is on the line. And you're feeling the gravity of getting older and seeing that. And only you know this, that you are not giving your whole self to this thing. And you're feeling the gravity of the regret of that. You're feeling the unlived life of that, the fulfillment, the lives that are not being touched to the result. And you're so hungry to pop the cork, as I call it, and to really allow that to come through you. And so I'm going to be talking about in this video, one, the above reality that I just discussed and what it's like being different, having always been different. And I think in part of that, I'm probably going to be preaching to the choir, but there's something about knowing that we're not alone in this. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I'll be sharing a successful example. I have many, but in the interest of time today, I'm going to share one that I think is so worthy. Number three, successfully navigating our current climate, our current times, a different one, having always been different. And number four, going into the spiritual realm to birth what's unseen yet. Tapping into the spiritual realm to birth what's unseen yet. So a little bit about me. And this is for those of you who are seeing me for the very first time. I'm Naima Singletary, and I have many stories like all of us, but I think the two that qualifies me in a, what qualifies you? Like, what about, why should I listen to, right? And that's also speaking to those of you who are still much more influenced by your head than your knowing. But I'll play that game because before the Apostle Paul was a disciple, he killed Christians. So I'm willing to convert, not convince, but convert. So, long story short, I moved to Houston, Texas from California after a divorce to prove to myself that I had the goods to get out into the world being weird and different and create some kind of success that I deem to be success. So moved to Houston knowing nobody and built a fashion marketing company from the ground up and sold it in 4 years. Then went on to build a multiple six-figure online coaching business in under 3 years. Online, okay? And have had many of the holy blow-ups and experienced a lot of pain, still experience the pain, though through a different lens of being powerful, unusually powerful, of being different like you. And I have made so many mistakes, and this is a good thing. I have learned so much. I have become so acutely self-aware, and above all, have said yes to this path. Stop rejecting. Neo in the Matrix, once he stopped fighting and talking about leave me alone, and once you have done that, life is, there's still challenges, but it's a hell of a lot more easier to be able to get the wisdom from the challenges and to move quicker versus the sludge of still resisting and God, take this away and resenting the fact that you're even in a human body. How about that one, right? So, what it's been like, and I'm gonna keep this video to 20 minutes. I think what I've even just shared is enough to tell you about what it's been like. I want to share with you the story of Franca Solzani. I was on the phone with a woman a few days ago, and she's like, feeling this urgency. She's a powerful woman. She's a writer. She's feeling this urgency to do something to bring her vision to life. And she's like, but there's stuff already. People are doing things already, right? This is like a woman who has not owned her position yet and said yes yet. This is part of what it looks like to be like, but there's other people already doing this, right? Like there's like this back and forth of, what do I have to offer? Is it really that significant? Women have been doing this. I'm not doing anything new. What would I say that hasn't already been said? And, right? There's that low level drama. And so, yes, there are, women have been stepping up for centuries. That was then, this is now. So I want to share a then story with you, and there's so many, but that was her time, the woman whose story I'm getting ready to share, that I think is deeply inspiring. And then there's your time, which is now. So the story is of Miss Franca Solzani. Miss Franca Solzani is the former editor of Vogue Italia. She passed away last year. Incredible story. As a matter of fact, you can go to Netflix right now, search for Franca, Franca Solzani. Solzani is Sozzani on Netflix. Her son put together a documentary, and she's actually in it, speaking. You can hear her voice, her experience. And Franca Solzani was one of the different ones. She was one of the Neos in a Matrix world. She was one of the left-handed ones on the right in a right-handed world. Stood out, opposed, disliked until she was liked. So Franca, former editor of Vogue Italia, saw that fashion magazines were not just about fashion, pretty faces, and pictures. She recognized that fashion magazines was a platform to speak to the pressing issues of her time. So what we see here is a woman who saw something that did not exist. She saw something that was abnormal in a world that created normality around just fashion and pictures and pretty faces. So right then and there, her thinking made her a different one. And when you watch the biography on Netflix or you do any research on her, deeper research, you'll find that she was always like this. In the Italian culture, it's typically the girl goes from her family home to her husband's home. She has children. She lives a very traditional Italian life. She does not take any high visible leadership positions unless she does, right? And Franca Solzani talked about in the biography on Netflix that she got married even though she didn't want to. And I think it was 3 months later, she had the wedding annulled. And how huge of a decision it was for her to, one, make the decision to annul the wedding, two, to decide to raise her son on her own, and three, to embark on the journey of becoming the editor of Vogue Italia and really chart her own course in her own career. How difficult that was, how big of a decision that it was. And so you think about that for yourself. How difficult has it been if you have not made the decision already? If you've made it, you know what I'm talking about. But if you have not made the decision already to chart your own course, this thing that is unseen but only felt by you, how difficult it is to even get to the decision. I forgot who it was who said, the decision is the hard part. Everything else is just distraction. So she saw that the magazine was a platform and nobody else on the fashion industry. I mean, the fashion industry have been around for decades already, right? The magazine industry have been around for decades already. And Vogue Italia had been around for decades already. And what she started to do was she started to hire rogue photographers and endowing them with the freedom to shoot images based on these ideas of oil spills that were going on, sexual assault that was going on, issues in the political space, and would bring these charged, politically incorrect, sometimes seemingly inappropriate images to the fashion world. These magazines that are supposed to just be pretty high-end fashion models and fashion and very vain level of expression. And also, she recognized she was talking to a global audience in an Italian magazine that only spoke Italian, because Italian is only spoken in Italy. And yet she wanted to talk to this global marketplace. She recognized how much the imagery in her magazine was going to deeply influence and how much she was heavily relying on the imagery in this Italian-only magazine to speak to the world. So you see, you go back and you look at images in Vogue Italia at the time of her existence, her reign as the editor. There was oil crisis, oil spills. You see high fashion models in these high fashions laid out in images of them like draped, covered in black, dirty oil. And you'd see animals dead or half dead in this oil. I mean, like really provocative, disturbing images. And at the time, people were like, what is she doing? People were saying what she's doing is wrong. She's going to destroy the imagery, the industry of fashion and fashion world and journalism. And she was threatened by her boss on a regular basis that, hey, we're getting flack here from the industry, from the marketplace. You must stop doing this or else you will be fired. She tells you, if you go watch the biographies and you go read the stories of other people who were talking about her during her reign, that many people were like, this woman is crazy. How did she get this position of Vogue Italia, editor of Vogue Italia? And she said that with every issue where her boss was threatening to fire her, with every issue, I feel this, Steve, she was ready to get fired because she knew that she was working for the future. She took a stand here. She took a stand here, month after month after month after month after month. She took a stand with people continually opposing her, constantly getting threatened that she was going to be fired, month after month after month. And eventually, what happened? She began to be praised. This is after, people started to think differently. This woman is changing something that had been in existence for decades. She started to change how people were thinking. So think about your industry and the industry that you are here to shift, the way that the industry thinks, the way the people work, what is considered normal and right in your industry. Or perhaps you're carving out a new industry. What stand will you take over and over again, month after month after month after month, to influence your industry? What stand will you take? And she died. She lived as an icon and died as an icon. You can go do more research about that. Franca Sozzani. So how do you navigate being a different one in today's climate where the internet is loud? Everybody's talking shit. You got trolls all over the internet. It seems so much easier to just, well, not for those of us who've made the decision, but sometimes for those of you, oftentimes for those of you who have not said yes, it seems so much easier to just go with the flow. I'm scared. Isn't somebody already saying that? I mean, and what I do, I'm really going to make a difference, blah, blah, right? How do you navigate being different, being weird, being the natural standout in your industry, in your group, among your peers, in your networks? One, you must, these are non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. You must get around your people. You must get around your people. I'm in Italy right now. I'm in a village, obscure. You got to drive like 10 minutes spiral up a hill to get to where I am. Yesterday, I was invited to a private birthday dinner. I was like, after it was over, I came home and I was like, wow, what a blessing that I was invited to such a sacred private affair. I ended up, now keep in mind, I'm in Italy in a village, a remote village in the mountains. Very few people speak English, and the ones who do speak very little. I end up sitting next to this Italian woman who speaks maybe 20% English. She's a philosopher, and her job is to go around hospitals here in the northern Milan area to help doctors and nurses who are working with terminally ill patients. So how to deal with them as far as the mind is concerned and spirituality. Like, she calls herself a philosopher. And this is like, we're, at a table, there's like 20 people. It's at this like square. People are sitting around like Italian style, eating risotto. And now we're having dolce, we have prosecco, and it's the celebratory, hey, happy birthday affair. I end up sitting next to this Italian philosopher who's one of the different ones. And I catch, because I'm on this side and she's not yet, I catch that she's one of the different ones because of some of the things that she's saying, and I have an ear for those of us who are different. And I question her about being different and being Italian because of the culture and the normalcy of the Italian mind, which I'm very aware of. I lived in Milan over a year. I study Italian culture. I watch the people, and I'm aware of what's normal in Italian culture. And so I question her about being different, about being weird in Italian culture. She stops and she looks at me because she recognizes that I see her. I see her beyond her philosopher Italian image. And I see her sort of settle into herself and embrace the fact that I see her. And she kind of tilts her head and she looks at me and she says, it makes me kind of sad, she says. So what do you do with this sadness? What do you do with this sadness? She said, I adjust in her accent, right? Because she's very much more Italian than she is English. And then we start to eat cake. Dolce is cake. We start to eat dolce. And out of these 20 people in the room, she and I are the two left-handed people. And these are some of the things that you start to pick up after you say yes to the path. You start noticing everything, the differences, and you start to pick up on your people no matter what environment you're in, just like I was in this environment at this birthday party yesterday. So you must be around your people. She's almost my people. She's my people in the sense that we have experienced a lot of the same experiences and emotions, but she has to not say yes to her path. She is not congregating with her people on purpose. She is not giving herself over to her life's work in the way that she's been endowed with. She's currently in the world, but not of it, and working in an industry that is still, she hasn't made a decision to really show, at least not to my knowledge in the conversation we had, to really show up in the way that she's been uniquely endowed with. So that's a little bit about how to navigate, get with your people. And number two, before I go on tapping into the spiritual realm, number two is you must relentlessly approve of and look for clues. So I'm already over 20 minutes, but that's what it is. Here, you must relentlessly approve of yourself because the world is loud. And it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get around people and to absorb the energies of normalcy and to get thrown off your rocker and get comfortable with sickness. Get comfortable with sickness because we live in a very sick world, right? So you have to constantly, relentlessly, which means you take in content that helps you approve of yourself. Whether you're connecting with my videos online, connecting with other people's blogs and videos and content, courses and coaching and workshops and seminars, constantly engaging in material that approves of you. And then looking for clues, looking for, like how I'm at this birthday yesterday. And I'm looking for clues for the world that I create. And I end up next to it. Like the fact that I even put my chair there and the way this woman came and plopped next to me, if you would have seen, it's like she came and sat next to me like she knew she was supposed to be right there next to me. Out of all the people, and we're sitting in a square, there's 20 of us going around like this. And she comes and plops. I'm on one of the corners of the square, and she comes and plops right next to me. I never saw her, met her. She just plops and then looks at me and smiles like, "Hi, I'm your people." And I thought, inside, I thought, clue? She calls herself a philosopher. Ding, ding, ding. Clue? I'm looking at how she's talking. She starts to talk about her world, her experience, her work. One of us. We start eating. She picks up the left hand. She picks up her dolce with that left hand. Clue? You start looking for clues to affirm what you know, to affirm what you know, to affirm what you know. Not what you think, not what you believe, not what you hope, what you know and what you've always known. All right, moving on. Tapping into the spiritual realm to birth what's unseen yet. Now, everything that I've discussed is much more activating and nuanced in private. Because out here, right? Who's out here? I don't know who's looking at this. My intent is for my people to see it, and I know that they will, but come on now. There's a certain level of engagement that's not happening here that happens when we're in private. So I'm feeling that, the reality of that, as I'm going on to this number 4 and final, tapping into the spiritual realm to birth what's unseen yet. A couple nights ago, I was watching T.D. Jakes. For those of you who don't know, T.D. Jakes is an internationally acclaimed pastor who's based in Dallas, Texas, and his congregation is called the Potter's House. And this is a man who's very much in tune with the unseen and harnessing infinite intelligence, infinite power to birth things in this finite third dimensional place we call planet Earth. And so he talked about the other night being in these big ticket business meetings and big ticket transactions where millions of dollars are being discussed and negotiated. How the folks in these meetings are forcing and pulling and trying to control things at a human level, at a mind level. And he said he'll take a break from the meeting and go into the bathroom and tap into the spiritual realm. Fight at a spiritual level. Tapping in, allowing, listening. Listening to the whisper. The persistently loyal whisper that only you hear when you get quiet enough. And bringing that into, okay, who do I hire for this? What's my next step? You're birthing something you're unseen yet. There's no business plan. Okay, caveat. You can write out all the business plan you want. We've all had them. I've had so many business plans. I know how to work with a business plan. The business plan is really about, okay, this is what we expect to do in our action. And yet, when we get clues, when we get information from infinite intelligence, when you go to sleep and you get something intuitively tells you at 3:30 in the morning, your business plan says to do this, but something says to pivot and do that. For those of us who built success in our business and we did something that the paperwork didn't say to do, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so tapping into feminine power. Remember, in the last few days, I've talked about the 6 different leadership styles, and I talked about one of them being feminine leadership style, and that all of us have that, and yet we need to remember to tap into listening to the whisper. Nothing's going to happen by force. Meaning, there's always a caveat. That's the thing about the spiritual. When navigating the spiritual world, navigating the finite world and the infinite world, there's always a caveat. So when you don't listen and you ignore the whispers, there's always a force that happens where there's like a dragging, like let go or be dragged. You've heard that before, right? Let go or be dragged. So that's a forcing, right? But when it comes to creation, you birthing something in the world, this thing that is only seen by you and bringing it to the world, there is no force. There's listening to the whisper of, oh, you get a hear from, okay, take that. I don't know, I just get a feel, I get a hunch that I need to call the person. I get a hunch that I need to say this. I need to write this. A few nights ago, no, this wasn't a few nights ago. This was like over a week ago. I was in Paris. It was 2:30 in the morning. I was laying down. And I got this hunch to leave Paris. What is 2:30 in the morning? But I've been playing this game long enough to know that the longer I play the game of thinking about it, think about it, because the mind the mind can tell you to do 7 different things within a 5-minute span. Within a 40-second span, the mind will tell you to do 17 different things. And I've done that exhaustive self-abusive thing many a times to know when I get that opening of instruction to just go. And when it's like this loud kind of, aggressive, like typically that's how the mind talks. The spirit doesn't talk like that. The spirit is very gentle. It just knows. Right? So anyway, there's just, go to Italy. Go to Italy. Go to Italy. Came like that. Literally, I opened up my phone, went to the EasyJet app, bought a one-way ticket to Italy. That's how I ended up where I am right now. A few days ago, I got a breakthrough. Like there was this way that the opening, the channel was not clear in the way that I needed it to be clear. I'm here in the mountains. I'm telling you, it just opened up. I know it's because I trusted the voice that said, come here. You must listen. Have the courage, the self-trust. Okay, caveat, trust in spirit. Trust in the unseen that is benevolent. In the whisper of the spirit that you have, that we all have, and trusting that. At the end of the day, after all the noise and aggression and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and do this and do that and the chaos of coffee and the mistakes and the up and the down and the self-abuse and the mental chatter, after all of that, what you got left is the quietness, the whisper of spirit. You always got that. Trust that, cultivate that, get that real strong. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. So that concludes the video. End of our 4 days. So what's next? Talk to me. What is next? How can I support you? Inbox me. Let's see the best way for to support you in bringing your thing to the world, in being who you need to be to bring your thing to the world, profitably, powerfully aligned. Maybe you need to come here to Italy, to the mountains. I don't know. Have you gotten that instruction? If so, it could be powerful for us to have some time here. Paris? The point is, get in touch if you feel called. Whether you've said yes, well, okay, not whether, but only if you've said yes, because it is so unnecessarily difficult and painful to deal with somebody who is still resisting, rejecting their difference, their power, and the yes that is necessary for them to get to the other side. So then your field opens up and your field opens up and you start to see things with a higher level of consciousness. Oh, baby, that's enough. All right, in touch. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you when I see you.